Remote viewing is the practice of seeking impressions about a distant or unseen subject, purportedly sensing with the mind. Typically, a remote viewer is expected to give information about an object, event, person, or location that is hidden from physical view and separated at some distance. The STARGATE project was a classified U.S. Army program created in 1978 by the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and the SRI, Scientific Research Institute. The program was created to investigate the potential for psychic phenomena in military and domestic intelligence applications. The project initially went by a number of code names, such as Gondola Wish, Stargate, Grill Flame, Center Lane, Project CF, Sunstreak, and Scan8, until 1991, when they were all consolidated as Stargate Project. The bulk of the project's resources were centered toward remote viewing. The project was declassified and supposedly terminated in 1995 after a CIA report concluded that it was never useful in any intelligence operation. But, as we like to do here, let's take a closer look. Information regarding psychic research in the US and some foreign countries had been poorly covered and was largely based on rumor or innuendo from second-hand accounts. This, along with rumors of the Soviet Union having a secret psychic program, led the CIA and DIA's decision to investigate and know as much about the phenomena as possible. Numerous programs were approved yearly for research and refunded accordingly. Reviews were made semi-annually at the Senate and House Select Committee level. Remote viewing was attempted, with the results being kept secret from the viewer. It was believed if the viewer was shown that they were incorrect, it would damage their confidence and skill. This was said to be standard operating procedure throughout the years of military and domestic remote viewing programs. Feedback to the viewer of any kind was rare. In 1970, United States intelligence sources believed that the Soviet Union was spending 60 million rubles annually on psychotronic research. In response to claims that the Soviet program had produced results, the CIA got funding for a new program known as Scan8, Scan by Coordinate, in the same year. Remote viewing research began in 1972 at the Stanford Research Institute in Menlo Park, California. Proponents of the research, Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff, said that a minimum accuracy rate of 65% required by the clients was often exceeded in later experiments. In 1972, Targ and Puthoff began testing psychics for SRI, including Uri Geller, who would later become an international celebrity. Their apparently successful results gained the interest of the U.S. Department of Defense. Ray Hyman, professor of psychology at the University of Oregon, was asked by Air Force psychologist Lieutenant Colonel Austin W. Kibler, then Director of Behavioral Research for ARPA, to go to SRI and investigate. His main focus upon arrival was to evaluate Geller. Hyman's report to the government stated that Geller was a complete fraud. Consequently, this led Targ and Putoff to lose their government contract to work further with him. This would result in a publicity tour for Geller, Targ, and Putoff to seek private funding for further research. One example of a successful viewing was the location of a lost Soviet spy plane in 1976 by Rosemary Smith, a young administrative assistant recruited by Project Director Dale Graff. In 1977, the Army Assistant Chief of Staff for Intelligence, ACSI, and Systems Exploitation Detachment, SED, started the Gondola WISH program to evaluate potential adversary applications of remote viewing. Army intelligence then formalized this in mid-1978 as an operational program called Grill Flame, based in buildings 2560 and 2561 at Fort Meade in Maryland. In early 1979, the research at SRI was integrated into Grill Flame, which was redesignated INSCOM Center Lane Project ICLP in 1983. Then, in 1984, the existence of the program was reported by Jack Anderson, and that year it was unfavorably received by the National Academy of Sciences, National Research Council. Following this, in 1985, the Army funding was terminated, but the program was redesignated Sunstreak and funded by the DIA's Scientific and Technical Intelligence Directorate. In 1991, most of the contracting for the program was transferred from SRI to Science Applications International Corporation, with Edwin May controlling 70% of contractor funds and 85% of the data. The program's security was altered from a special access program to limited dissemination and was given its final name, STARGATE. In 1995, the Defense Appropriations Bill directed that the program be transferred from DIA to CIA oversight. The CIA would commission a report by the American Institutes of Research that found remote viewing had not been proven to work by a psychic mechanism, and saying it had not been used operationally. The panel consisted primarily of Jessica Utz and Ray Hyman. Hyman had written the unflattering report on Uri Geller and SRI for the government 2 decades earlier. Psychologist David Marks found Utz's appointment to the commission puzzling, given that she had published papers with former program director Edwin Mays, considering this joint research likely to make her less than impartial. A report by Utz claimed that the results were evidence of psychic functioning. However, Hyman argued in his report that Ut's conclusion that ESP had been proven to exist, especially precognition, was premature and the findings had not been independently replicated. Hyman would go on to say, quote, "Psychologists, such as myself, who study subjective validation, find nothing striking or surprising in the reported matching of reports against targets in the STARGATE data. The overwhelming amount of data generated by the viewers is vague, general, and way off target. The few apparent hits are just what we would expect, if nothing other than reasonable guessing and subjective validation are operating." In 2017, the CIA published records online of the STARGATE project as part of the CREST archive.